Ah, you caught me. I hadn't finished yet. Anyway, not that there's all that much that has to be done, but there is little logistics.
You caught me. I hadn't finished yet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Okay. So everything seems to be working. Good enough. Close enough. On with the show. All right. So I figure I'll just, I did some more the taking of pictures and such. So this lower image is the single slit with a zero point 0.4 millimeter opening. So almost half a millimeter. Kind of big. Lots of pattern. This is the double slit with a zero point 0.4 size block in the middle. So the impediment is 0.4 millimeters, and the slit openings are 0.1, I think. So small slit openings and a fat, semi-fat impediment. But the point is obviously their similarities here are kind of obvious. Now, if it wasn't for the absence of breaks here, their size is almost the same, close. Um, and so it's sort of interesting. Now these photos aren't exactly the same magnification, so I'll show them in their regular state. But the interesting thing, so we've done this background thing before, so we'll zoom out here to look at some of this background stuff. Just kind of blobs of background. So you can see, pretty good image. Lots of little lines, and they do seem to create little separations here, for which I don't have any explanation. And this noise is interesting. This pattern of the noise, because the noise is completely different in the double slit, which really is curious. So let's do that. I don't know if there's anything else to point out here. So yes, this is just one side of the pattern. So I'll just say that there's the bright spot is hidden, and this is just one side. Um, and a fairly long time lapse kind of thing. So let me do these the same size. This the sizing tool? No, this is this size. Yeah, okay, fit in the window. Do this fit in the window thing. So you can see how similar sized the patterns are. But there is a shape difference, which is hard to figure out. And the most important one is this background, though. This one has me, what is that? Why is that? Just seems really bizarre. Let's just look at some of that as close as I can give it to you. Um, as you can't tell really whether it's going this way. They don't really line up, but they do kind of blur. That's the other thing. Why are these strange shapes? They go this angle over here. Well, they're all going, yeah, and then they're going this way over here. So these are going this way. These are going this way. Hard to tell what's creating that. Um, just very strange. So if anybody has any ideas, I'd be curious. I'd be interested. And the dots here, it's just kind of funny how they don't line up very well. I mean, this dot isn't lined up well. This one goes much darker. This one's almost a fourth bar here. So it's strange. You got 4 bars here, and then it goes light, and then there's almost 4, and then it goes dark, and then it's 4, and then dark. So you can say that the pattern's 4, and then there's a dark one, but it gets ambiguous which one's dark. But anyway, but this background is the one that's, like I said, very different backgrounds. I mean, there's huge difference in what happens to the noise, which I don't have an explanation. It doesn't just jump out at you and say, that's because, so. All right, so anyway, still have to do some more experiments. I did do some more experiments tilting it, and the difference in the pattern does get pretty dramatic in the sense that it gets quite a bit longer. So as you tilt it and make the opening smaller, it does separate. But it's still not proportional to what you would think it would be. So unconclusive on that subject. Yeah, just lots of questions. No, still. But it's been around a long time, and it seems nobody's felt the need to answer these questions. I don't think conventional physics has an answer for this. Why these two patterns? They're they can't draw you a picture of why that's happening. Why is this pattern got two patterns in it? They don't give you an explanation. I don't know the explanation. I haven't heard it. But so just pointing that out. So if somebody has the explanation or a link to the explanation for why the waves are doing this, some explanation has to do with something visual, like something that's actual, not just a mathematical equation, but some sort of actual description of why water waves don't do that. And they don't. So why don't water waves do this two pattern thing? And why do light waves do it? What's the reason? And why in the single slit water waves don't do anything like this at all, but light does? Those are kind of important why questions, I think, for which I have been provided no answers. All right, so anyway, to the comments, which were just so bad that you just say, oh, God, why do you bother? Just block them. Don't bother reading it. But I'll give them a little more time, and then I'll finally get to that point. And hopefully someday there'll be an actual human being that can interact in some sort of reasonable way and actually make some arguments relevant to physics. We can hope for that day. Anyway, piece of garbage. All right, no capitals, no sentence structure at all here. Just, and he calls himself complex multiplexing, as if he's doing something either complex or that he can do more than one thing at a time, which doesn't seem likely. Piece of garbage. You should watch before abusing people you don't know. Well, I don't abuse anybody who doesn't show up and say, abuse me, please, because I'm an asshole or a troll. And I usually play people's videos, which is more than they do. I don't just paraphrase people. So what exactly are you bitching about? Oh, that's right. Nothing rational. Then period, and then no capital. Tranny looking homo. So again, what is that supposed to make you sound credible? I mean, so your assumption is that I would think calling somebody a tranny looking homo is somehow something somebody smarter than Donald Trump would do. And no, that's not what I would think. I mean, anybody would just, getting anywhere close to the 100 IQ number kind of probably understands that saying tranny looking homo only works on like people from Arkansas or something, secretly molesting kids, but whatever. You are much worse than the ones you talk down to. Well, I don't talk down to people. I talk directly to them when they're full of shit and, when they're saying crap, talking gibberish. Well, maybe I'll play some of the Ken Wheeler video. How would that be? Would you like that? And I'll show you just absolute crap, and you people eat it like, oh, that wasn't crap. Yeah, no, that was pure crap. You are the lowest of the low. Why? Because I make an argument on the internet? Oh, nobody should be allowed to do that. You can't define anyone. Well, I think I can. Put people in categories really easy. There's, big asses and big hooters and lots of categories you can put things in. So pretty easy to do, jackass. Anyway, you may fuck off at your leisure. So, or I'll help you. Yes, I can help you. Very smart. Look, mine cough. So again, we're supposed to take that seriously. He left some comments. So yes, I'll get to your comments, Mr. Minecraft. People make fun of the Holocaust. So again, this is supposed to be somehow he's saying to me, I have credibility. You should pay attention. If I'm insulting you, it means something. You should be worried that I'm insulted by you or I'm bothered by you. Why would I be bothered by being a bother to somebody who would title themselves Mein Kampf? Wouldn't I be kind of proud that I'm bothering Mr. Mein Kampf? Mr. I'll make fun of the Holocaust. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm really bothered that I'm bothering you. No, I'm not. I will get to that later. I better not block him because then his comments might disappear. Oh my God, how awful. All right, so Ron Johnson, who apparently just wants to feed trolls and make trouble for no good reason whatsoever, which that's all he's ever done on the internet, these stupid putts. He likes some, I went to his channel and, he has a real hard boner for some fat guy. All right, well, it's got, Professor Anton video 1. He's got playlists with one video in them. But this guy here, Godless Engineer, who is if somebody was going to be called the unfunny comic, this would be the guy. I mean, predictable, jump cuts, just the corniest, bad humor jokes, and an unlistenable voice. I mean, just absolutely like a 13-year-old kid, just constantly changing pitch. And it's all, the pitches suck. Well, anyway. And, he's got he keeps just liking every one of these pieces of shit. So anyway. So again, Ron, no credibility from my perspective. What's on your like list is shit. So you're pretty shitty. I mean, shitty atheists. They're atheists, but if they're shitty people making shitty, goofy arguments, not anybody making like a stand-up, decent argument regarding why we shouldn't insult our intelligence by believing in fairy tales. So fuck you, Ron. Oh, maybe I'll write that later. Okay, halfway down the drawing program's toolbox is a straight line. Yes, I've used it, and you can put arrows on it, and I've used it to make arrows in numerous previous videos. So that's kind of already been illustrated. So that's not news, Ron. I believe you can click on it if you then drawing a straight line. So we also didn't type this very well. So I'm supposed to take advice from somebody who can't figure out how to type. I believe if you click on it, you are then drawing a straight line. Well, you're not really drawing a straight line. You're drawing 2 points, and the line will be drawn between the 2 points. Yeah. If you want a curved line, choose the drawing tool that allows you to draw short lines to create an arc. Well, there's no tool. It's a web browser drawing tool. Okay, really innovative, really great that somebody actually did that. Nobody paid any attention to it. He's got nothing for his trouble. A really nice piece of programming. But yeah, I don't think it can do the, bend your curved line thing. It can do circles and it can do lines and squares. Asshole. Or consider having me do your drawings. Oh, so I'm supposed to do live videos where, I might make the topic based on what somebody says, and we should all just suspend the room, and, I should submit a drawing request to you, and then you can provide drawings. Is that how you want it to work, shithead? You really are just such a cunt for writing this slop. For you then... unless I understand, I used the tablet actually for maybe 15 seconds just to see if it worked. It's broken. I have a nail in the tip of it. Nail. It's broken in more than one way. The buttons don't work. All right. And it's only 4x5. Okay. It's only a 4-inch by 5-inch tablet. So its resolution is kind of poor. And I'm using Linux. So I don't even know exactly what the DPI, and I'm doing it on a screen that's a 17-inch monitor. and you're bitching. I just, and amazing, just ignore the video entirely and bitch about something that couldn't be more irrelevant, because I actually said in the video, yes, this sucks. I pointed it out. Why do you need to point it out? I mean, just such a cunt. Okay, consider having me do drawings for you, then email them to you. That makes absolutely no sense at all. Even for the drawings that I do for the website or something else, it just still makes no sense. They're not complex drawings, checkerboard kind of things. Arrow goes in, arrow comes out a different color. Even though I don't understand your ideas. So that is just another useless dig, right? So he does understand this, okay? He understands why a single slit creates this pattern when it doesn't do it for water, but this proves light's a wave. This pattern proves light's a wave, even though it doesn't do anything that waves would do. And he understands why there's these little breaks in this pattern for some dopey reason. And he understands this weird background. He understands all that shit. Okay, he understands that's all swell. That's all good stuff. Yeah, light's obviously a wave, and that proves it. That lack of correlation with waves proves it's a wave, right? But he can't understand the simple argument I made about the fact that force is going the speed of light. Now you made me drop my nail, you fucking cunt. I gotta go find my nail. I have to interrupt the video to go find a nail. I'm lucky I'm fucking brilliant, because yeah, I found the nail. I mean, there's absolute garbage down there. I mean, a big giant pile of garbage, and I found the nail in the garbage. Amazing. Talents are amazing. All right. So he can't understand. So there's the force is moving the speed of light, and the matter is not moving. And the force hits the matter, and the matter moves much slower than the force. So a thing was going this fast, really fast, and now a thing is going really, 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 really slow. So the force, this battery, it was heading somewhere, and now it doesn't hit where it was heading. Right? You kind of get that. But see, now it's stuck in here going really slow. So the energy went into this thing. It's going really slow because it's heavy matter. And now the force isn't hitting where it was going. It was going somewhere. Now it's going to not hit there. He doesn't understand that would be called low pressure. So you've converted a circumstance where there was high pressure or a certain amount of pressure. And by putting matter in the way, it absorbs the pressure. And see, that explains why matter affects space and creates gravity, because the matter bits are absorbing energy. And that's why the inside of them is very hot. It's because they've absorbed a lot of little force bits going in a direction. And now those force bits don't get to their destination. They get there maybe really slowly, right? So a week later they show up. But that doesn't do the thing over here saying there ain't no pressure here. I have to go this way because there's no pressure. I'm getting pushed. So it doesn't do them any good, because this week later thing doesn't make any difference. This thing over here is going to react to the fact that this thing is absorbed energy. That's too complicated. Then when I broke it down into two forces and two matter bits, that is, there's like a checkerboard, right? You have red checkers and black checkers, and you have black spaces and red spaces. So if you thought about the spaces as being electrons and protons, and you thought about the checkers, you can say, look, when you put a black checker on a black space, a certain thing happens. And when you put a black checker on a red space, a different thing happens, right? And exactly vice versa. So when you take the red checker, put it on a black space, different, and they're exactly opposite reactions. And those opposite reactions are the difference between something hitting something and bouncing off, reflecting, and something hitting something and leaving perpendicularly instead of this way. It goes out this way. He can't understand that. Ron doesn't get it. I don't understand your ideas. You don't understand that as an explanation? And by the way, this little black-red checkerboard thing completely explains why the nuclear forces work, why protons and electrons behave the way they do. It explains charge. And then it explains magnetism really well, because, the magnets are filtering the red and the black checkers. So all the black checkers come out of one way and all the red checkers come out the other end. You can't understand. And I'm supposed to take that with a grain of credulity, that you can't understand. Then you're too stupid for this channel, frankly. And I guess kind of obviously. All right. So he opened the door. So anyway, he says, I can draw. Well, I can draw. So there's a link below to my art page of some drawings I did like 10 years ago of some other YouTubers. But yeah, I can paint too. And, I did this shirt. It's really a very good likeness of a gorilla, but, fuck you. Just fuck you for making me have to do this. To actually, defend, my competency. I explained in the video. I did explain that I haven't used this tool. It's an old tab. It's like 10 years old, barely compatible. Amazing. All right. What is there to understand? So this is my cough. It's simple. There's only two types of thing in the universe. Sorry, no S on the thing. Red arrows and blue arrows. Yes, forces. That's right. There's two types of one kind of force. There's one force. All the forces move the speed of light. Now, is that too complicated for you people to figure out? Gravity, magnetism, the nuclear force, and light, the electromagnetic spectrum, all of those things move the same speed, which might indicate that they are somehow related. And they all have this kind of function of being kind of massless, but yet possessing momentum. That is, they don't interact. Forces can't affect them because they don't have any mass, but they can affect things that do have mass. And they do reliably affect them in a conservational kind of way. Maybe that word's too difficult for you. Conservational. What goes in, something comes out. Yeah, you put stuff in, and it's in there, and then it has to come out. Then the same amount of stuff comes out that went in. Like rabbit goes into the hat, then rabbit can come out of the hat. But rabbit can't come out of the hat unless somebody shoves rabbit into the hat. Too complex for you. All right, and they never interact except when a red and blue arrow hits, then they bounce perpendicular. True enough, in function. That's how the universe works. That's right. These things could effectively be on different dimensions. That is, the black and the red forces can't interact in the real universe because they're in different positions in the field, the matrix, whatever you want to call it. And the matter bit allows for those two dimensions to meet. And when that happens, they do this. Again, too complicated. All right. But bend space, they understand. They understand why a piece of matter bends space in all three dimensions at exactly the same time. And bending meaning consuming space. It means pulling on the space. In 3 dimensions, it's pulling. It can't bend it. There's no bending in 3 dimensions. You can't create a bowl this shape, and stuff isn't going to fall into the bowl. People are just such cunts. And if you're asking perpendicular to what, then you're a fucking perpendicular is a word by definition. We already know what perpendicular is. Perpendicular to the force that went in, the force comes out. And that's Maxwell's equations, by the way. That's how magnets work. That's electromagnetism, by the way. a real thing in the world, already proven, demonstrated every day as an event that actually happens in the mechanical universe, for which you have no explanation. Your theory provides no explanation for why it happens or how it happens. You just say virtual photon. And that's the end of the conversation. Like you say, bent space. Oh, end of the conversation. Where did the energy come from? I don't know. I don't care. I'm not a physicist. And if I was, I wouldn't care like the rest of the physicists. What do I care about? Energy is some energy. What? You're supposed to conserve energy somehow? There's supposed to be some in rule before you get the out stuff? Oh, fuck that. Let's see. Then you're a fucktard who doesn't know what the word perpendicular means. Well, again, yes, you are. If you don't know what the word means, I mean, it's just kind of a simple word. Things going this way, something else goes this way. The two ways are perpendicular to each other. Not that challenging. All right. Also, I forgot the closing quotation mark, but whatever. This is physics, whatever that even means. Not some exact science. Well, again, you're the one saying it's not the exact science. We should just say virtual photon, dark energy, dark matter. We don't have to explain where any of these things came from, or how they exist, how they function, except that they're invisible and they're magical. Bent space. So again, the fundamental forces, as you would describe them, are bent space and virtual photons. That is, not real photons that do real photon stuff, but they're not really photons. That's your explanation. And you're insulting somebody else for not being exact enough? Amazing. Also, they only ever bounce perpendicular via this conduit of matter. Yes, which, as I just pointed out, to me makes sense. Matter's complex, allows for complex things to happen. Force is simple, straight line stuff, point A to point B, as Feynman would say. Oh, except the matter itself is red and or blue arrows. The exact ratio. Oh, we got more. I'm so excited. The exact ratio is undeterminate. Well, obviously, the point being made is that there is a conservational force and there is balance apparent. I'm just saying that technically you're not going to detect if there's a little bit more of one or a little bit less of the other. We don't have any instrumentality that can tell that the whole universe has a bias and is moving in a direction, asshole. But there's no reason to believe it is. All right. But in a good non-free will way. So now he's bringing free will into it. And again, so I'm supposed to take this critique and insult as meaningful from the mind cough guy who doesn't think, okay, that anybody who was a mind cougher was for specific reasons, a way the world was presented to them that made them think it was rational to think Jews are genetically money whores or something. And therefore, all the Jews have to be killed because all the Jews have this evil gene, this little greed gene. And that wasn't the truth. The truth is they had some sort of free will where they could have gleaned the magical hate the Jew knowledge from the clouds, or Alpha Centauri sent them that brilliant piece of garbage. Oh, anyway. I mean, just an amazingly psychotic fucker, this cow. It's got to be the cowboy, right? Who else? In some hocus pocus Heisenberg way. You're the one arguing for Heisenberg, not me. I'm the anti-Heisenberg person, remember? Anyway, amazing. Caught in circular orbits which are square. So again, they're not in orbits. Clearly pointed out, there's no such thing as an orbit in this circumstance. There's only straight line. I said the fundamental geometry, I've said it more than once, is likely going to be square geometry, not circular geometry. And I clearly pointed out that the circle and the square do the same thing, and that is return the object to a single point in space. You can't understand that 4 turns equals the same. You end up in the same place again, just like a circle. Exactly the same thing happens. And that you can actually reduce that to just going forward and back, and you end up in the same place again. You can't understand that all those things have in common with each other is ending up back in exactly where you started. Dumbass. All right. I mean, just amazing. The people who type this horse shit. Worse than horse shit. It's much more vile. Let's see, circular arcs which are square and are caused by the opposite colored bits hitting the trapped bit repeatedly. No, this repeatedly thing doesn't mean anything. Obviously, if you drive into a cul-de-sac, you'll just keep going around in a circle if you don't drive out of it. The same thing is true of right turns. If you don't take a left turn somewhere, then you're just trapped in the right turns. Too complex. But virtual photon, no. That's easy to understand. All right. Amazing. Just amazing. They have nothing. They provide nothing as an explanation. And this asshole is fucking nitpicking about my choice of metaphors. Amazing. If that's all starting to sound like cognitive dissonance. So again, if you're a listener and you're a fair cop, you think what I just described as being a mechanism, this kind of mechanical mechanism, is somehow a perversion, a perverse distortion of a possible mechanism. Now, maybe there's some reason you say it doesn't work. Fine. I'm just saying, in this simple form, you do understand that the 3 right turns, right? 3, 1 right turn, 2 right turns, 3 right turns takes you right back to where you started. You do understand that, right? I mean, that doesn't cause you cognitive dissonance, does it? All right, to you. And the argument about the heavy thing moving slower than the fast moving thing. The fast thing hits it, and the fast thing is very small, and the big thing is very big. So if I push a cue ball into a bowling ball, the bowling ball might roll much slower than the cue ball. And that if the cue ball was going somewhere, which it was, it won't get there anymore. That causes you cognitive dissonance. You can't understand how that's possible, that the cue ball wouldn't keep going right through the bowling ball, and that the bowling ball, you think it should go just as fast as the cue ball went? Huh? I mean, maybe you have to put this in kindergarten talk, but I just mean this is, I mean, this is the best they can do. All right, causing cognitive dissonance to you, it is. So he's basically saying, look, all the rest of you understand what I'm saying, right? That is an insane concept. You know, that you could take this right turn thing and end up the same place you started. That's an insane concept. But I'm sure a picture of that could be drawn. It might resemble outsider art. So again, too wacky, too abstract, drawing a square with an arrow. And the fact that the arrow just ends up always back where it started. That's too funky. Yeah. Similar to the work of schizophrenics and that paint for therapeutic purposes. So again, you know, he's talking as if you, and you do, it's clear there's more than one of you who actually think, now this is a valid argument he's made. That in somewhere in this paragraph of mush, he's said something that in some way attacks what I've proposed in any kind of meaningful or real or substantive way. And obviously he hasn't done that. But again, he might be the one who does the 10 fucking thumbs down on this video. Who knows how big a troll he is in terms of how big a cheater he is. All right. So then the real reductionist, who probably is the same person, anyway, let's play along. He also solved the heat problem of particle gravity by saying it's kinetic, which is a really important word. Yes, there's nothing smaller than these bits of energy. They can't be broken into something smaller. That's where the word quantum for quantum mechanics came from, is that idea. Planck constants, all that kind of stuff. So you've heard of that stuff, right? Now, I know this might be just too much for you to imagine, but as you get smaller and smaller in the universe, the mechanisms get more and more direct and simpler, and there's no more room for friction. There's no carpeting for your feet to rub on. There's no rubber tearing off of your tires. Things aren't doing that kind of stuff. They're having very, very direct interactions, and interactions that only have maybe 2 or 3 different outcomes, and all of them are quantized. That is, there's no flying little bits. So a photon can't hit something, leave, and then create heat. See, heat is a photon. You can't make another photon. Now, actually, your wacky theory, the one you're defending, actually thinks it is possible to create photons out of nothing, that antiparticles pop out of space and create photons. That's your theory. Shit for brain. All right. All right. And then he says the bits are trapped by the Earth. Yes, they're caught in circular paths where they don't make any progress. Trapped. But their momentum is still real. And I pointed it out by talking about when they make experiments with very little friction. Okay, they do these in laboratories and in physics lectures that you can watch online. You can actually watch Professor Lewin doing the experiment. You can actually watch the kinetic energy go into a system, and then that system keeps moving. As long as they could provide no friction, it would keep moving forever, theoretically. And so when they get rid of most of the friction, it can go for quite a while, maybe all day. And you can't imagine that there could be a little bit more friction that you get rid of. And if they got rid of all the friction, it would do exactly that. It would just bounce back and forth. You can't imagine that being possible on the nuclear level. You're really dumb. Okay. Let's see. And that's why the Earth's core is hot. It's clearly, why do you think the Earth's core is hot, idiot? Where's your explanation for where all that energy came from? That's called energy, by the way. Heat and pressure, that's caused by energy. If there's heat and pressure somewhere, or pressure and then heat, is usually the way it works, you have to account for where it comes from. It has to come from something. You have to pull it out of a system somewhere. You can't have it for free. Just like velocity, you can't move unless something pushed you sometime in your past. You had to get pushed to have it. Or you have to be accelerated. So where did the heat come from that's inside the Earth, asshole? What's your theory of why the Earth's core is molten? Even though that should mean the core should be heated up constantly. Yes, that's what it is. It's constantly heated. That's what it is, yes. It vaporizes, thereby going right back to the heat problem. It doesn't do any of those things because it's caught in pressure. So the heat is thermally insulated from the surface of the Earth. It's all going one way towards the center. And the pressure, so if I had 100 pounds per square inch of pressure going this way, well, if I create 100 pounds of pressure going this way, those two are going to hit each other, and that's it. There's no pressure out here anywhere. You can't, you're not going to get it anywhere else but where the two hit each other. They bind each other. They can't go anywhere once they've intersected with each other. So when the pressure goes in, there's no pressure to push it out. To get out, it has to have extra pressure to get out. Something has to put extra pressure in one direction to push the pressure out. You're too stupid to even understand that simple mechanical process. All right, and then this last said, you boys really are a cute tag team. You even have matching thumbnails. How romantic. Yes, that's obviously probably the same person, whatever. All right, so thank you, Ron, for providing these trolls this opportunity to be fucking assholes. I really appreciate it. All right, so then Ron is even doubly stupid here. Well, you know, stupid squared, sorry, to be more appropriate. It's called a Bezier, yeah, Bezier tool. Yes, that Bezier tool though does the nodes thing. That's where you can make curved lines. So you didn't even have this right. I was trying to make straight lines. Having a Bezier tool wouldn't be that useful in that circumstance, but it's for creating curved lines. And the drawing program doesn't do this anyway, so it's sort of moot. It's an HTML drawing program. It's running inside of a browser. The fact that it has any tools that work at all is pretty much amazing. But, you know, you're just such an asshole. All right. So, mine cough again. The great Gary cannot be bothered with such minutia. Well, I think it is kind of minutia. And the fact that you people hang on it, you know, that's sort of just a description of exactly there's no point in doing anything serious on this planet anymore because you idiots are now ruling. And there will be no conversation that doesn't just get drowned in minutia, you know, useless irrelevancies. He unified physics. Well, that's a fact that, yes, my simple mechanical drawing does actually unify quantum mechanics, everything covered by quantum mechanics with everything covered by relativity. So it does unify gravity, magnetism, electricity, the nuclear forces, and light. Remember, he threw away all the math. So again, I keep emphasizing components of the math. I keep saying Maxwell's name even. I keep pointing out how I have no serious objections to most mathematical formulas because they're a description of what you can have as expectations, as outcomes. They're not description of cause. So all they really have to do is telling you that there are certain variables that we all can notice. Oh, there's a slit width. Yeah, we can all figure that out. And there's a distance to the target. We can figure that out. And we can all say that these variables, the width of the slit and the frequency of the light and how much light, all these variables probably have something to do with the outcome. But the math isn't going to tell you how they have something to do with the outcome. Again, there's no Huygens in the math explicitly. There's an angle in the math. All right, and but just keep lying, okay, in defense of your nonsense. Just keep pretending that isn't the truth, that the wave equation is really an angle equation, that there's no such thing as a wave in it. But just keep lying. That's all you got is lies. All you can do is bring lies as arguments because you got nothing. And all the math and the precision that allows the previous models to make predictions. So again, they didn't predict anything. So all this talk about how they predicted something, they predicted the Higgs boson. Do you think it's a rational prediction? You know, they have a little chart that looks like this, and they figure out, hey, you know, if we put more energy in, we should get another one of these little things, right? And you think that's making a brilliant prediction? Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not too impressed in the real world because they weren't an explanation, just a description. So he's quoting me. I don't think that's anything I said. But again, my point is yes, describing effects is one part of reality. Understanding and describing accurately causes is another part. And I'm saying your description of causes is full of fairies and magic dusts. There's no virtual photon. I can just say that. How many times over again do I say the words virtual photon? That's your explanation of a cause. A virtual, non-existent, non-entity, non-real thing that does real things. That's your explanation. The bent, magical, bent, three-dimensional space. Bent how? What do you mean bent? You can't bend three-dimensionally, at the same time. You can't bend in 3 dimensions at the same time. So it's not bent space, it's contracted space. You can't even describe your own model rationally and accurately. You're such desperate liars. But anyway, then proceed to create a new theory that contradicted the math. So again, there's no contradiction with the math. So again, they keep saying these things as if I'm disputing all the mathematics that's every formula that's ever been done. I'm disputing. I've pointed out where where Newton's theory of having the 2 gravities multiplied to do the force was, in my opinion, a mistake, because the force is created independently in the 2 bodies. So it should be an independent formula of gravitation. The force isn't dependent on the other thing even existing. And I've pointed out why Einstein isn't all that, that you people make it out to be, because it really is a tiny improvement to Newton. And I've explained reasons for why we observe things like time dilation, perfectly rational reasons, why there should be a correlation between velocity, actual velocity, that is how you're actually moving, understanding like something simple, like we're sitting here on Earth and we think, oh, I'm only moving as fast as the Earth is rotating. But when we know in our heads, wait a minute, I know I'm being accelerated. Gravity's accelerating me 10 meters per second in this direction. So obviously, to get back to this place, I must be bouncing back. And now I have to measure that entire different distance to measure my actual velocity. And that explains why GPS, that's why the clocks on Earth are the ones that need to be sped up, because they're the ones time dilated, not the speeding satellites going 22,000 miles an hour. No, we're the ones with the broken Earth clock. But just ignore that perfectly rational point and play your little silly liar game. All right, anyway. But that's okay, because he solved physics. It's just a fact. Yes, there was a real huge problem of a lack of unification, and you have a bunch of fairy characters in your physics. You have a bunch of talking bears, a bunch of magical forces that, cause redshift, and magical forces that bend light, and magical forces do all kinds of things for which you don't have anything called real evidence. Your evidence sucks, and that's why you can't point to any of it in these in these comments. You can't just link me to your great evidence, the great video. So go ahead, link to me to the great video on physics on YouTube. Link me to the best physics video you can find that really debunks me entirely, because it just so proves what a virtual photon is. So why don't you just link me to this great physics and challenge me to have to go debunk that piece of steaming crap, because that's what it's going to be, a piece of steaming crap. And I'll demonstrate it's a steaming piece of crap. That's why you can't do the linking. It's because you're pussy. All right. The way a full frontal lobotomy cures one of speech disorder. So, again, that's supposed to mean something to somebody. Analogizing how my physics is wrong because, there is no because. And then it's just an irrational comparison to, you must be crazy. You must need a lobotomy. because you don't think virtual photon is a great answer to a question. God, you're such a cunt. So, to block or not to block the useless Ron? Yeah, I'll let him ask to be unblocked. Force him to send me an email. Fuck you, cunt. All right. So, Mein Kampf again. Your insane physics ideas should be trapped, neutered, and thrown back on the street. So now he's comparing it to the stupid idea in the first place, which is let's make veterinaries really rich. So we'll take a bunch of wild animals, pull them out of the wild, pay a vet a huge amount of money to give them shots, cut their nuts off, cut their ovaries out, cause them pain and suffering, cause them a great deal of stress, and do forced surgery on them, kind of a Nazi thing. Who knows what experiments they do for fun, and then throw them back on the street to be run over. A stupid, idiotic, inhumane policy that everybody thinks is some kind of charming answer to the wild cat problem that shouldn't exist in the first place because we don't have rational laws about how people treat animals in the first place. But anyway, and so he thinks my idea is going to reproduce, so it needs to be neutered. So he's basically Mein Kampfing, hey, we shouldn't have these channels where people are talking about physics and challenging our fundamental premises. Our God is God. No other God theory can be presented, and certainly no evolution theory can be presented. We must stop it. He's a fucking fascist. He has no argument. He's a racist, propagandizing fucking lunatic. And these people are all over the internet. And you just let them run free, you assholes. You're just assholes. I actually saw a Piro video where he was actually starting to acknowledge that maybe there's some assholes on this planet, and maybe you have to do something now and then to do something about it, or your civilization will turn to shit. Your internet will be run by assholes. You'll have no mechanisms that work anymore. You have people shitting on the streets, shitting in your fucking house. So then the real reductionist. It's all right. I can safely say his ideas are going to go to the grave with him. And we could bet on it. If you want to have a GoFundMe, and we'll fund who gets their grave turned into a giant urinal. Well, no, might as well have shit too. Just make it into a porta potty. Because you're going to be the asshole, fuckhead. And I just hope if I'm dead before you, find this guy. America, find this motherfucker, okay, and kick his fucking ass. Because this bullshit shouldn't be taking place. I shouldn't be harassed by this guy over and over again. 1,500 different sock accounts. Why should anybody have to put up with that? Why shouldn't I just be able to say, okay, we disagree, motherfucker. I'll see you at the Civil War, shit for brain. Okay, yeah, we don't like each other. But you just keep making it personal here, fuckface. And really, you should get it. You should go to jail for this fucking shit, you fucking cunt. It's drivel. This stupid medium that just lets assholes create channels. Mein Kampf. Fuck you. All right. Off to comment fun. New comments. All right. So, Mein Kampf. Opening a second slit causes more dark pattern to appear. Okay, we got that. Evade all you want. No, I think you're the one evading. Why don't you explain why that happens? Why don't you explain why it happens? Show me the water waves that do that. Show me where the water waves create the two patterns. Go ahead, show me that. But you'll never have an answer for that. You don't have an answer for it, asshole. You're so fucking ignorant. You don't even realize your own physics has no answer for that. Yes, no answer. Is where you live considered Appalachia? Apologies for the dumb question. Well, I don't accept your apology. Go to hell, fucking asshole. Hopefully there'll be more jerky comments by you, then I can block you. Let's see. I think we'll just move me over here for now. Yeah, that'll make it all that much easier. Probably should be that way. This should go over there. And I should go over here. All right, anyway. What the fuck? I go back so far. Got me forward so far. All right. How would dark patterns pop up when a second slit is opened? Why don't you explain that? Unless there is, in fact, a wave-like property of light. Well, again, why don't you explain how, show me some other waves that do that, that go 4 little dots on and then 2 dots dim, 4 dots on, 2 dots dim. Why don't you show me waves doing that? Okay. By dark pattern, I mean dark bands. Well, I don't think you really do, because they're not all that dark, are they? They're just less light. Yes, less light goes there. Why does less light go there? Oh, obviously something you haven't explained. Clearly, conventional physics does have an answer. What answer? Where is that? It's called wave interference. No, wave interference does not. Wave interference creates. Let me show you. Okay, we have the images, right? Wave interference creates this. This is the pattern it should create. The 2 slits with a wave should create this pattern, which is the single slit with a photon. The thing you don't have any explanation for this second pattern. And you certainly, what's your explanation for all this shit in the background? How did it affect all this stuff in the background? Where is that all coming from, cunt? Mr. Know-It-All. So amazing. Again, single slits produce lots of pattern. And in water waves, they don't create any. No correlation between water waves in the single slit experiment and photons. No correlation. Equal sign with a line through it. Does not equal. All right. You reject the answer. Does not equal the answer doesn't exist. I'm asking for somebody to provide me the link to it. I'm saying go ahead and show me the diagram. Show me the waves interfering. Draw the little waves interfering and show me how it creates that complex pattern. Maybe you need to clarify what the fuck you mean by doesn't exist. I don't know what that. I don't need to clarify anything, cunt. All right, Mr. Keebler. While working with lasers in the entertainment industry, I have witnessed that noise pattern when the laser would bounce off mirrors. Yeah, well, that's understandable because of internal reflections. Mirrors usually have a surface over them, glass. I will have to fire up the laser this weekend in the shop and observe the phenomenon. Yes, well, any explanation. Like I said, I'm just not, I'm going to do some more experiments. I mean, I just don't know whether the noise, I was thinking the noise was going through the transparency, okay, because that's how it looks. I mean, in the full size image, which I don't have available right now, I showed the other day that there's like a little box that was darker and then it gets another shade out here. So the dark frame was the slide. Okay, so the image of the slide was creating a shadow. And the noise was inside that box. But when you look at this, there's a frame and then there's this opaque stuff. So that doesn't quite make sense, because then you'd have 2 different, this would have an opaquency different than the cardboard. It should be really opaque. And there was no evidence of that. So this stuff must be going through the slit. So the light must be going through the slit and bending at these queer angles. Maybe. So this background noise is noise that's actually going through the slit, and it's bending in two directions. But it's still, why is it doing it in these weird swirly patterns? Very bizarre. In my opinion, very bizarre. Quite bizarre. All right, so we'll move this down so you can still see the pattern. All right. All right, so bus, question mark. I say BPH. Well, that's just too interesting. The black person holder that transpolates. Okay, I just block you because, yeah, quantum fuck something. You is a sicko. All right. I thought time was a flat circle. I don't know. So that makes sense to you? Time is what it takes for photons and other things to move. So we know that photons move at a certain speed. So to get from one place to another, it takes time. And if they got there instantaneously, then there wouldn't be any time, because everything else would end up going instantaneous too. So it's kind of the slowness of photons, even though they're 3 million meters per second. Even though they're going really fast, it's their slowness that essentially adds up to all the other slownesses in the universe. But there's no dimension of time. Time isn't a place. Okay, time is just a function. It takes time to get from one location in space to another location in space. Just a fact. Every single thing we've ever observed takes time to do that. And there's only almost the silliest of physicists who think there's some real experiment that demonstrates anything ever moving instantaneously. No evidence of that. No hard evidence. Anyone, Elon Musk, I mean, who cares, is being interviewed live on Joe Rogan's channel. How fascinating. Joe Rogan talks to every douche on earth. If you're interested in doing a live reaction video, a live reaction video to a live reaction video? No, I don't think so. I don't think Elon Musk is anything like even a high school scientist. Okay, Elon Musk doesn't know anything about anything. He's an idiot. I mean, he's just rich. He's not smart. Oh, God, you people are just so stupid. You do understand that the Earth is moving. Well, as far as we can tell, it seems clear that it must be. Because, yes, if the sun was actually rotating around us, it would be going so fast, it would be impossible, as somebody pointed out the other day. You do understand that the Earth is moving, so in third. So this is going to make sense somewhere. You do understand. So no, I don't understand why you type so poorly and then do it in this rhetorical way. I mean, if you can't type a better sentence, you shouldn't be this rhetorical. Okay, you do understand that the Earth is moving. So in third, the bit returns to where it started. How does this make any sense? Taking right turns only. The Earth is made of atoms. When I was talking about the right turns, I'm talking about how atoms function, electrons and protons. The apple is to the Earth what an atom is to an apple. Atoms are really small things, very, very small. And they're inside the matter. And inside of the atoms is where the energy gets trapped, retard. God. But the Earth would have sailed away then. So this is just totally, I don't know how you can mix up these subjects. You're so fucking goddamn stupid. All right. For someone who scolded Ron Johnson for enabling trolls, you sure seem to love to reply to them yourself. No, I don't. What's the evidence that I love it? People come on this thing. So could you please make a channel with content? Put your name, you put your face in your videos, and then allow me to make disgusting comments on your videos, on your appearance, on all kinds of stuff. And I'll call you all kinds of names, and I'll insult your relationships. Maybe if you have a girlfriend, I can make fun of her too. And then you can pretend that you don't have any need or will to defend yourself against the lies I'm going to type on your fucking channel. Because you don't have any dick or what? You have no balls, you have no integrity. You'll let people lie about you and you'll just say it's okay, go ahead and lie. If you had kids and I called them ugly little fucking trolls, it wouldn't bother you. If I said they're little stinking thieves, it wouldn't bother you. Go fuck yourself. Seriously, what the fuck? The dude. So this is the kind of crap. Again, this word dude is just so, you're just saying nigger. Okay, that's all that word dude is. Cunt. Yeah, just does moment to moment stream of consciousness. So again, there's no moment to moment stream of consciousness. I read your slop and then I explain how it's absolute fucking stinking slop. That you obviously spend most of your day with your hand up your own ass. Okay, no relevance to the comment. How is it not relevant? Circular paths while drawing squares. X laugh. So again, he doesn't understand this, and this all result in the same outcome. You're back where you started. That's funny. That's silly. That couldn't possibly be a real Yeti. Fuck you. All right, so we'll just say goodbye. I mean, just pathetic. So that saves me an awful lot of comments that I don't have to respond to. Wow, that really did cut it down substantially. I'm glad they wasted their time. Yes, the double slit experiment explained by waves is definitely bullshit. Well, it's definitely not what you call great evidence. I'm not even asking you to say it's bullshit. I'm just saying it's obviously not clearly proof that photons are waves in some kind of weird medium that somehow does this bullshit. Dark patterns appear because light is refracted by the edges of the slit. Well, it's a little more complicated than just saying that. So I think that's just horseshit, frankly. That's not nearly enough. And it certainly doesn't explain this double slit pattern, why two patterns are created. And diffracted by what? It has to be diffracted through a process. I'm just saying you have to say, yes, it's diffracted because surfaces are complex. There's no such thing as some flat surface. And when two material surfaces interact, that interaction has a chemistry to it, and that chemistry creates atoms and with electrons around them, and that photons interact with electrons. I think you have to connect it to photons interacting with electrons. Photons are bent by electrons. That's traditionally how photons move a new direction. They have to hit an electron. I don't think there's any evidence of them hitting something else besides an electron to be changed in their momentum. I think this is groundbreaking science. It's very frustrating, this ignorant, barrier of trolls and pseudoscientists. What you say is making sense regardless. Oh, thank you. It is pretty interesting. I have been following this channel for a month now and have not been disappointed so far. The whole wavicle thing is laughable. Yes, well, I mean, the point isn't to mock it or to laugh at it. I probably do too much of that. The point is that they won't allow the conversation. And this channel demonstrates how aggressive even the amateurs are at avoiding the subject. And that's the pussy part. They claim they have this great science, they have this great evidence, and yet when you ask them to put up, they'll shut you up. As been said many times, light is rays, not waves. The patterns show that. Well, I think it's clearly, I'm just saying, we kind of know that that's what photons do. So they move in straight lines from point A to point B. Hey, Gary, is it possible that all those force bits floating around are the ether for waves? I don't know what that would mean. And clearly, I'm not arguing for photons that read each other's minds or are connected to each other, so they can't create any tension. To have waves, you have to have tension in something. That's what waves are made out of. They have to be connected to each other. And photons aren't connected to each other, and they're not connected to anything else. They're about as free agent as you get in the universe as a photon. So clearly, I'm saying, I've said it before. I think if ether theorists concede that all their ether really needs is to put energy into it, they still have the energy problem. You want to see, ether doesn't explain where the energy for gravity comes from. Ether doesn't explain where the energy for magnetism comes from. They just say some silly thing like, oh, no, there's this swirly stuff going in, this doing this and doing this. That's magnetism. It's all this spinning stuff, and it's like two fluids moving into each other. When the two fluids, and that's attraction, and when the two fluids are going counterclockwise and clockwise, then that's repulsion. An insanely ludicrous explanation. It doesn't account for anything close to the amount of energy, the speed and power that magnets move towards each other or away from each other. Can't even come close to being an explanation, because it would take an incredible amount of energy to be moving this ether, swirling it. How does it get swirled? They don't have any explanation for what causes the swirls. It's a hyperboloid, it's a toroid, it's tornadoes. They got shit going on all over the place, and they don't have a single explanation for where any of the energy comes from. And the simple answer is that's what the gravity's doing. That's the push thing. Damn it. It's kind of obvious when you just give it a little bit of thought. The energy comes from the external universe. All right. Eating farts as a pastime activity. Oh, it's Peppy again. So I'm going to report him because this is harassing, just harassing. He just keeps doing the same thing over and over again. So maybe eventually they'll quit giving him free accounts to keep doing this shit. All right. It's been said many times. Okay, light rays, now rays, pattern says that. Okay. Yes, photons are bent by electrons. So again, it's tricky language. They're obviously absorbed and readmitted through the process of interacting with electrons. The point is there's photons don't go into the electron. I would argue the photons are actually trapped between the electrons as ping pong balls, as pressure. And they're released when you fuck with the electrons. You let ping pong balls out. Okay, yeah, let's see. I am only limited to 100, so I can't explain much in one comment. Yes, well, I know, but you should write regular comments on the video then, and you should maybe even email me if you have some sort of valuable contribution to make, or links or something else. But I mean, drawings, something. So there are links to the two images, just in case anybody wants to see them. Besides my art page, well, my old art. So if you want to see this, like I said, this pattern is interesting. So it's yeah, I mean, it's it's a real, it's a thing. You're looking at it and you're saying that is really fucked up. And there's got to be a reason why it's doing all this. It almost looks like threads, fabric, like a quilt or something. And again, it's hard to say whether they're moving up and down, like this, are all separated by the same distance. Like you could argue that this one and this one and this one are separated by the same distance. So it could be going this way. I don't know. But then you have all of this alignment stuff. Like all of these, this thing is pretty straight across, you can see. So I have the slit well lined up horizontally. And yet the bars are tilted. They shouldn't be. They're not tilted on the slide. So why are the bars tilted? And then even more tilted is in the background stuff. They're tilted in both directions. Why all that tilt? Where is that coming from? I mean, it is curious. And the only way to find out is I have to keep fiddling with it. I'm going to try moving the laser further away and see how much of this noise I get rid of. And, try some other things. But yeah, it's difficult to find the right experiment to do to dissect exactly what's happening. I mean, on a port, with the equipment I have. But yes, the camera is definitely helping. Taking the long exposures, I wouldn't have seen any of this pattern without the long exposure. Well, I might have been able to see some of it, a hint of it. But yeah, it did bring it, did make stuff that wasn't visible. So I have to find maybe a better thing to shine this onto. I need a smoother surface, I think. Paper is probably a bad idea. Paper bleeds light too much. So some of the photons go in and then move around in the paper and then pop out, kind of a thing. At least I imagine some of them do that. I don't know. And then there's the whole polarization issue too. I haven't figured out how to best test for that. So anyway, sorry about this video. Like I said, I shouldn't spend time on the trolls, but these people are just so obnoxious, and it is sort of personal. Like I said, I mean, I got a thick skin. I don't, they're not bothering me any more than it just bothers me that liars get away with being liars, that these assholes get away with all of these lies. I mean, it's all over our politics now, just liars all over the place. They're just on both sides. I mean, it's just everybody's a fucking liar. And it offends me, that people can get away with that crap. I don't understand yet. It's so crazy. No one could possibly understand black and white checkers. No, way too complicated. I mean, it's just such horse shit. All right. Pretty clearly left to right. Pretty clearly left to right. I don't know what that means. How do those lights not remind you of police lights? I don't know. They're obviously moving quite differently, okay? There's a frame rate problem with the camera. So you're really not getting the effect. But in real life, okay, you don't see the colors much. And it actually looks like the light's moving. So it goes up the spiral and then down the middle thing and then up the spiral and then down the middle thing. So it looks substantially different than it does, in this broken frame rate camera image. But yeah, it has some similarities, right? I don't have to look at it. No, it's not really police lights. It is kind of annoying sometimes, I have to admit. I mean, it's, seizure provoking, but doesn't matter. I like it, so I'm keeping it. Let's see. It would make me really anxious. Yeah, well, it does some of that sometimes, but it's also um, it's a good trigger for physics, in my opinion. It's a very physicsy kind of looking thing. It does, it kind of says physics. So in some ways, it makes your brain think about photons and forces and movement, and it just so for me, like I said, I think it's good to keep my brain, yeah, whatever. But I have lots of shit going on. There's a little TV right there, not TV, but a little flat screen, a little. It's really just a photo viewer, but it actually plays movies. you know, uh, and so I have movies running all the time in here. So it's 10 watts. It's nice and efficient. I don't know what you can't really see it in this tiny image and see what it is. Bigger. See if we can figure out what movie it is. Red stuff. No, that's yeah. Let's see, what the hell is that? I should know. I mean, the movies play over and over and over again. All right, that looks like a car. Yes, it's not big enough. Make it bigger, Gary. Well, they could make it full screen, I guess. It didn't go full screen. Cunt. Bastard. All right, there's two people. And there's a crowd of people. No, they're moving through something. Damn. Usually it's like not that hard to tell. I live here, so I really should know. I mean, it should be saying. Well, I mean, I have a guess what movie it is, but I don't want to guess early. Just from the fact that you can't see anything. Hmm. I think it's Terminator 2. But yeah, it's really hard to tell. Sorry, we're just wasting time, but it's a little puzzle to figure out, right? You're sitting there saying, "What the fuck is that?" It never gets any better. I mean, we're not getting any really good, easy to tell kind of scene. So that looks like the headlights on the helicopter when the building after the building's, and the Terminator's going to come out with the minigun now and shoot him up, or something like that. So they were inside the building, I think. Let's see. Yeah, is that him? No. Somebody making a face. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be that Martian movie with Tom Cruise, but yeah, that's like Tom Cruise there, don't it? But he ain't carrying the kid. Yeah, that's it. It's reversed. That's why I can't tell. Yeah, so it's that stupid Mars invasion movie. Yeah, I need to reverse it. Everything was moving the wrong way. That's why I couldn't tell. So they were in the basement. That's why I couldn't see it. That's why you couldn't see anything. There was that stupid basement scene, and then they're no, then they get captured after the basement. Yeah, so they were inside that cage. That's why it all looks so shitty. Yeah. Okay. So this is like towards the end. God, that movie sucked. Why do you have it on the thing then, there, Gary? Yeah, I just had it. So the technology movie. I guess that's, I don't know why. I don't have a good excuse. It really did suck. I mean, the little kid was so good in it, but everybody else sucked. And I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yep. Yeah, that's what it is. So he's still going to blow up the last one of the little fucking Martian things. All right, so enough of that shit. Yeah, keep it in the frame. Yeah, so we'll go to the end of the movie, I guess, and then I'll leave if nobody has anything to say. Yeah, got to make my picture smaller to see the comments. Rip off. All right, so you'll have to watch it on the small screen again. Yeah. It's kind of annoying that it doesn't do this automatic resolution thing. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, so I can do unfortunate things to my appearance. No too much red. I don't know what that means. The Matrix. Yeah, that was a good guess. Matrix is on there. But yeah, no, it's stupid Tom Cruise. Shoot! Shoot! Look at the birds. And then they're gonna bazooka the last Martian spaceshipy thing or whatever. Blah blah blah. Really was a stupid movie. If any other species was to invade, they're just going to send robots. I mean, it's just so obvious. I mean, they're not gonna fuck around with us. They're just going to send drones to do the dirty work, and they'll just show up after the garden's growing very nicely. Then they'll show up. And such. All right, time's running out. It's like people are walking backwards again. I don't know. I think that should be the right way for you to see it anyway. Maybe I was seeing it wrong. Yeah, so they're at the point where the dead Martian's gonna die. Yeah, the dead Martian, the last gasp of the Martian, or whatever he was, Venetian or whatever. Presumably Martians. Presumably. Yeah, so it might be backwards now, so maybe I'll flip it back. Why not? I have the power, I might as well exercise it. So now he's walking the last mile. The stupid Prego comes out. Freaking X1 Prego bitch. Bet the Martians didn't eat her. Please stop the slow while I draw. Or the show while I draw. Oh, I don't don't think I'm going to do that. View my physics picture. I don't know what that means. No clue. If you'd like to participate in a live room here, if you can speak some kind of English and something to say, I can invite you into the room and you can make arguments or say something, but I don't know what that even means. I awoke to a very large spider on the wall. This doesn't sound like it's going to be on the subject either. The other day, and was reminded how we don't really need other world aliens to be terrified by the alien shit that's already here. This is true. The whole decomposition thing is just so gross. You know, every now and then I run across a dead animal in the woods. And it's just so disgusting. You know, the whole maggot thing is just so gross. I used to have really big spiders in here sometimes, like, you know, like that big around, you know, if you count all their legs and stuff. They were only like the spider itself was only like a nickel or, you know, a quarter, but the legs were monstrous too. Anyway, but yeah, they were like that's like having a real animal in your house. But the neat thing is, you know, if you try to go whack them and move, well, then they'll run away. But if you throw something at them, they're really bad at, like, maybe they try to catch it or something. I don't know what they do, but I was, you know, I got one from like 25 feet away with my sneaker one day. I mean, I just threw my sneaker and just boom, right on him. Well, the quantum computer is a lie. I know it's a tricky word, lie. I mean, it's presented as if there's something reasonable in this theory that you can effectively jump to answers before you ask questions. Like somehow I could just walk up to you and say, blueberry. And you were going to ask me what's on sale at the store or something. Blueberries. That's the premise. The premise has all this entanglement crap built into it and this tunneling crap. Like somehow you can tunnel to the right answer and you don't have to do 2 plus 2 plus 7 minus 6. You don't have to do any of that shit. You can somehow just jump to an answer, and it just happens to be the answer to the question you haven't even asked yet. I mean, it has some premises in it that I don't know how everybody can follow it as being logical. How is an uncertain bit useful? The wacky bit. So you have on, off, and wacky. How does wacky serve a purpose? So I can't understand it as a theory. I can't see how it. I don't see how it can work. So, and I think it is completely dependent on entanglement being a real thing, and superposition and all that shit. And I don't think any of that shit has any hard evidence. It's not defendable as fact. And clearly, the quantum computers they've built so far haven't done shit. I mean, you know, they're not doing what a they're not doing, you know, I mean, I don't know how far back in time to go, but I mean, they're worse than like the 1920 computer. And such. Yeah. I think the movie's over. Yes. Oh, now we're on to Hunger Games. Ugh. Another horrible movie. I gotta get some better movies. Anyway, the movie that's the most fun to watch on that thing is let's see, what's it called? But anyway, it's this old movie where the Martians stole Santa Claus or kidnapped Santa Claus or something. I don't know what it's called. It's called something Martian something Christmas Santa Claus something in there. But anyway, it's just hilarious. It's such a fucking classic piece of crap as a movie. It's just so fucking overtly queer. Oh, it's just so charming to watch. I mean, just as bad as you could make a movie. It's just so bad. You just couldn't make, like, to be funny and make a bad movie. You just couldn't do much worse than this movie. It's just so perfectly bad. No, anyway. So, last few minutes here. Anything interesting on the subject somewhere? Maybe physics somewhere. Something. Anything? I guess not. Let's see how many viewers there were just for the hell of it. 17, about average. Okay. That'll have to do, I guess. Oh, the 10-wheeler thing. Let me just play that. It's really short. It's just hilarious. So it's somewhere in here. Well, all right.
Let's drop it.
So this guy's always kind of begging for money, and but he spends $1 zillion on cameras, and he has every lens ever made in the world, and talks as if he's a poor man. Anyway, so he apparently bought a hunk of copper, probably 7 pounds of copper or something, just so he could do this eddy current thing, where you can force non-ferrous materials, paramagnetic materials to become magnetic when you put a magnetic field through them. So everybody knows about this copper thing, and this is just a dramatic way of doing it if you can afford to buy, $100 copper slug. So he apparently can afford to do that.
Let's try that again. Looking a little closer. Drop it from about 5 inches or so. And I didn't drop it perfectly. Let's try that again. Capacitance.
So this is the part that's funny. So the theory is the faster this magnet moves the field through the copper, the more the copper reacts by creating what are thought to be eddy currents inside the copper. And the eddy currents, like all electricity, produce a magnetic field in return. And it's enough of a magnetic field to dampen the velocity of the magnet falling. And so it falls a little slower. Now, he also used this to wiggle it back and forth to tilt the styrofoam back and forth. Well, that's because the slug weighs 10 pounds. and obviously he's put a pretty high center of gravity for the styrofoam case. And so now you can tilt it because the magnet will create enough of a magnetic reaction in the copper. So this is sort of theoretically understood. But, I mean, nobody has a great diagram of it. But anyway, this is his explanation. I'm just, it's just such a, how is this an explanation of anything?
Capacitance, resistance, dielectric permittivity, magnetic permeability.
Okay. There, dielectric permittivity and magnetic permittivity, whatever the other one was. And that's supposed to say something to you. Capacitance, permittivity. There, we're done with the subject. And that's good enough for these Fucking idiots who watch these videos. Great explanation, Ken. Thanks. That explained it all. Now I know exactly why that happens. Capacitance and permittivity stuff. Thanks. Totally get it.
It's capacitance, resistance, permeability, permittivity, everything.
Yes, that explains it all. Yes, I totally understand now.
Yeah, fun with solid copper. Fun. Let's get it going here. Not touching anything. Not touching it? Let's see. Nope. Rocking.
No, it's all just parlor tricks. So again, just anything that just is a trick, a little gimmick, but let's not bother with anything called real physics, and let's pretend that this is useful, that you're educating people with this mush. It's just so depressing. Now I feel better. Orbit is fool's gold. Qubit is fool's gold. Yes, it's. I don't know. Obviously, it gets dangerous calling it fool. But because these are smart people. But I'm just saying they're invested in a bunch of their own jargon, and their jargon has all these dark matter, it has a bunch of made up stuff in it. And yeah, you're going to bet on virtual photons, you're going to lose your money because there aren't any. There's something real that creates magnetism. It's not a virtual thing, it's a real thing. And there's something real that causes gravity. It's not bent or whatever. It's not nothing being bent. There's something causing it, not nothing. So, yeah, it's all just really depressing. I'd say he's just showing off his new magnet. Well, no, I think it's an old magnet. I mean, he's got 4 million. He's got $1,000 magnet. One magnet, one big fat magnet, $1,000. He begs for money and using science words to validate it. Yes, well, I don't even know if they're not real science words, in my opinion. Some of them are kind of skeptical as real words. So, but anyway, just throw that in. It was just so, like, again, who could? I mean, I'm a relatively informed person. I've watched a lot of his videos. I mean, I tried to understand what he's talking about when he says these words. But how could somebody listen to those words? Capacitance, resistance, electromagnetic permittivity, or whatever he said, electropermittivity and magnetic permittivity. I mean, what the fuck? How could anybody turn that into an image or an understanding? Oh, this physics girl. I haven't watched one of her videos in like 6 months. And oh, what a mistake. What size magnet can erase a credit card? There's no physics in what she did first. You talk about a gimmick and just showing off. I mean, they just, and it's just all this. Oh, I know I have a hacker friend. Yeah, well, yeah, I fucked him. Oh, I have another friend who's a, oh yeah, I fucked him too. I mean, it was so fucking pathetic. A video, just terrible. I mean, and it didn't even go into the technology of the magnetic strips on credit cards in any kind of sophisticated way. um it was just so tacky. And she couldn't even say like, oh, and the force diminishes, like magnets get weaker with distance. And she couldn't even say like the inverse square by the inverse square rule. I mean, you know, there was like so little physics in the video that you wouldn't even point out that, yes, the magnetism decreases by the inverse square law. So bad. Let's see if there's anything new. And then we'll get down out of here. Probably. All right, so that's it. I didn't watch this Tin Man video, but it's negative resistance. Negative resistance. That's just such jargoneering. Negative resistance. The unpressure did it. Yeah, I don't think so. So anyway. All right, so I guess that's it. No new comments. So till the next time and such. And I will try not to interact with the trolls any further. Just let them spew their filth and clean it off the window and be done with it. Damn, it's just irritating. This medium is so filthy. So, till next time.